Okay, take it
It'd be
away,
great to see
Julie.
everybody, but is people not showing up, showing their faces because you said something about recording and they might not want their face on the recording? Is that it?
Yeah, that's potentially, or they
Oh,
just don't. It's yeah.
okay. All right. I'm just lonely here and just want to see everybody. So, hi, Alexandra, and Anna was there, and then there's Erica and Amy. So, actually, what I'd like to do is, to start with is just a little meditation practice. And I don't know how many of you are into meditation, but part of what I wanted to share tonight too was that um, often why we're challenged to get return back to the page, maybe show up in a big way for the first time. A lot of it has to do with what's in our environment and our whatever context we're living in, whether it be family environment, cultural. And what I mean by that really is more like the COVID, the election right now, abusive leadership, isolation. This all impacts us and everything that everybody's experiencing right now. Let's say you have a little depression or a little anxiety or procrastination and right now I'm just kind of referring to some of our negative states or states that are hard on us. Those are all have also a therapist, so that's part of where I come from as a writing mentor and Sherpa is I focus on the psychology of writing. So what I'm sharing here is that part of our experience right now is being impacted by obviously by the COVID and particularly by that. And so if you experience any whatever our negative states are, they're increased right now. Everything's harder right now. Some of us notice it more than others. Doing that is everybody is experiencing post-traumatic stress to some degree, and everybody's experiencing um, attention deficit disorder, really having a hard time focusing, particularly on things that are important to us and are close in, like our writing, our creative writing. Some artists are saying the same things. People are finding it harder to do and things like that. Everything is just a little bit it's kind of like walking through hard wind maybe, or walking through the deep mud. Everything's taking more energy, so just to be merciful to yourself and understand that it's harder right now. So part of my approach to my writing, to my life, to my work in the world right now is how can I just get through the winter in a good way. No matter the outcome of the election, it's a challenging time. It's going to be a challenging winter in terms of the COVID and a lot of changes. And things aren't going to happen real fast in terms of changes, in terms of our having to be in lockdown and things like that. So it's important to acknowledge that. And really, in terms of returning to the page, it's really about instead of making something happen in our life, it's about what we can do to allow for it. If you consider yourself a writer or a wannabe writer, or if you're a journaler, or you had a project you want to either start, get back to, um, it's really about, and this is what time is going to be, is practice allow for that. Because if you already want it, you're halfway there. You are halfway. So happen. One of the best books in terms of resistance is Stephen Pressfield's book, War of Art. Every reader should have the book, The War of Art. It's a really good description of how resistance comes out. The more important our writing is to us, the more important our creative project to us, the more intense the resistance. So that's again Stephen Pressfield and War of Art. I'm going to start with a little meditation practice. I am going to invite challenging experience for you. So we're going to meditate a little bit, just focus out in front of you. Because one of the ways to help us and allow us to return to our creative projects and stages is getting a little bit more skillful at just having times where we're just slowing down, and then can receive information both from outside ourselves and also inside ourselves. So go ahead and take a deep breath. Close your eyes again, or have a soft focus in front of you, and simply bring your awareness into your body. Follow the breath, the physical sensation breath. Ah. So, okay, I'll do the back to meditation. um, and I'll just take a couple more minutes with that. But ideally, if you don't have a meditation practice, the important part of being able to listen, sit still, kind of settle into a quiet time. It doesn't have to be meditation. It's often good to start even a contemplative time, a time where we're turning off the electronics, turning off our phone, and just kind of just sitting and listening. Also, another good way to tune in that way is to go for a walk. Only don't listen to music on this particular walk, a walk that can just kind of allow you to listen and tune in. I come up with some of my best ideas on my walks, but I also find that I'm writing a lot less when I'm not taking some time to meditate or just sit down. And it basically kind of staring at the wall. It doesn't have to be, like I said, a meditation. It can be nice. So if you do start with like taking a couple nice deep breaths, kind of bringing yourself into your body and just noticing the physical sensation of breath as it moves in and out of your body. And again, that's just kind of just settling things down, because the reason we need some quiet time, contemplative time, meditation time, downtime is we're trying to train our brain when we're writing. We're basically asking it to do something for us, right? We're trying to train our mind to say, I want you to write this story, or I want you to write this blog, or finish this poem. And that's that those kind of creative requests of our mind takes a certain type of training, a discipline, right? um, and to allow for that and to have it be more natural and organic, you want to tame the mind. And meditation or walking without music, just kind of sitting and contemplating, maybe reading a poem, and then just kind of sitting down and thinking about that poem or just enjoying the poem, is a form of taming the mind again. So if it's 5 minutes a day, it can make a difference. I go on One way I'm going to get through the winter is I'm going to be going on my walks. I go on a walk every day. Today I did listen to Trevor Noah, but most of the time I won't listen to anything because I'm either been zooming a lot during the day or whatnot. So I let myself kind of just settle in, breathe, walk, and listen. So there's lots of different listening practices that I encourage us to do. And if you don't have one, create one for yourself that you say, this is the time I'm kind of taming my mind, settling down, and then I'll have more energy for writing. So there are 5 practices, and that's the first one. Would also include in the meditation and writing practice and the taming the mind and settling the mind is to give yourself, again, um, ideally, the first thing in the morning is a good thing to do. There's called a time called the Great Conversation, which is super early, is right before the sun rises, right before it starts getting light, and the whole world our world anyway, is starting to wake up. And that's a really good time to get up and just listen. The poet William Stafford, He was also a social activist. That's when he wrote all his books and his poems, was during the Great Conversation. So what he'd do is he'd get up and he would wake up with the world and just listen and tune into all that energy. And yet his mind wasn't real busy yet. So so you're able to just kind of settle in. So that's a really good time. If you can give yourself anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, once or twice a week with the Great Conversation, you're going to just notice there's this communication going on inside you and this desire to be writing things down. You become part of that Great Conversation. Let's see. So a listening practice of some kind, tuning in and kind of turning off the electronics and such. I am going to share a video. It's just a 5-minute poem, or not even 5 minutes long, but can you share that? Do you have that still? It's by David White.
Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone. As if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you courage. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. The tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything, everything, everything is waiting for you.
That's finished.
I'm Kristen.
Thank you. So I love that part about everything is waiting for you. Everything is waiting for you, and how he talked about an invitation to notice, just to notice things, to start noticing things. And I want to say and add to that that invitation is so vital to us, and a remembrance that how essential our role as writer is. First, it's essential to you. Whatever it is you want to write, you have to write it, whether it's a poem, whether it's a letter, whether it's a book, whatever kind of genre it is. There's a need for you to get that story down, whether it's an autobiographical piece. There's a need in you to get that down and write it. And it could be lifetimes old for all I know, but it's there and it must be listened to. So there's that. So the writing process is first going to be something transformational and healing and feeding you for you to just to write it. So the first writes, the first drafts are for the writer, for us, for you. Secondly, though, we need your stories out in the world. Right now, there's a lot of negative narrative out there, and there's a few people in power who hold the loudest narrative. So we need to keep having these books and these blogs and these poems and these songs sent out there, so we can influence the world through other narratives. So writing is essential to getting us through this threshold. I believe we're on a very threshold in our culture right now, and that writing, you're getting your story out, no matter what it is, whether it's humorous or whether it's dark, whatever it might be. Your story is part of the conversation that's going to carry us across the threshold. First, it's going to get you across by your writing it, And then you're going to help carry the rest of us, or whoever your reader, your future readers are going to be. You're helping carry them across the threshold. It's no small thing. And it feels lovely, by the way, one, to finish a project, a writing project. And secondly, then to send it out to the world, to send this, to push the send button, and then get something back from a reader that says, wow, that really made a difference, or thank you for that. Even one little post of that is worthwhile. So that's that conversation. The second piece of, does anybody have any question about any of that? So there's just so few of us. Want to invite any question? No, not at this point. Okay. So the second practice is using intentions. Some of you might have, and then I'm going to share something on my screen. There we go. I'm going to invite us, our mindset, our how we frame the world, how we frame ourselves as writers, how we think of ourselves as writers, the language we hold with ourselves around our writing, whether we consider ourselves a writer. I would like each one of you, when you're done tonight, to say, yes, I'm a writer. It doesn't matter to what level you are. If that's a calling you have, you are a writer. So using intentions is something that's very helpful with writing. There's lots of research out there about that. Instead of having affirmations or goals, affirmations, there's research that also shows that affirmations and goals are not helpful for us. So for example, I refer to affirmations as bullies. And the reason they're bullies is they only tend to work for people who already believe the affirmation they're saying. Or if you have a really lot of high self-esteem, but you have a kind of a low self-esteem in a particular issue, so you use your affirmation. It might work then, but it typically doesn't work, because what happens is the mind, you're going down the street and let's say, oh, I feel pretty, but I really don't. So I create an affirmation that says, I am pretty, I am pretty. And then every time I say that affirmation, it's actually kicking in the belief that I'm saying this because I really don't believe it. That's basically why they don't work. They're actually kind of used more as a bully. Then there's goals. Goals are even more dangerous. Not that all goals are bad. Once you're in something, once your creativity is kicked in, or you've gotten good at something, then you might, set up some goals for yourself. But at the initial stage, you're trying to return to something like writing, or trying to return to a project, to commit to something. Goals act like diets. And you know what happens when we go on a diet and I say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. You tend to take a bat and you tend to hit yourself over the head with that and say, I got to get these 20 pounds off me. Or you look at your ideal self and think that's what an ideal person looks like. So setting yourself up and saying, I'm going to write 20 pages by the end of the month, you're pretty much just going to hit yourself over the head with that. The energy of goals and affirmations don't work. So thankfully we have intentions. And what I'm going to have us do tonight is just at least start creating your writing intention. I do have a writing intention. I don't really need one as much, but I do live by intentions. I have a core intention and I have writing intentions. And so you want to create an intention, and an intention is are active, and they're more of a their narrative is forward. Like, so they say, I live, I express, I write. I live the generous writer's life. So that's one of my intentions. Other examples, where do I have some examples here? I live an abundant writer's life. I allow for the writer to emerge. I celebrate my creativity. I trust my inner voice. These are all possible intentions. And as you see, they're affirmative and they're present time. They're not future. They're not, I will be a writer or I intend to be a writer. I live the writer's life. I live the active writer's life. The next point is there can be used as a cognitive behavioral tool to recalibrate yourself in the moment. So if you create, I live an abundant writer's life, then you can look in the moment and say, am I doing that right now? And how far am I away from it, basically? And then what can I do to move a little bit closer? And again, this is about allowing for yourself to live the creative life or to live the writer's life. It's not forcing anything. You don't even have to sit there and go, okay, this is what I have to do right now to bring my life right in this moment in more alignment to the intention. All you have to do is ask the question, how far am I from my intention? Pretty far right now. How close am I to her? What can I do to bring myself closer? Then just explore this. You can explore that also in your quiet contemplative time, just like, explore your intention and see how far or close you are from it. But don't force anything. Intentions will reframe experiences on the spot. So even just saying your intention or bringing it to light helps you start aligning your life with that intention. And this is something we're going to do. So the next thing is you can script or journal a future encounter event. So with your intention, you can write, what's your intention going to look like when it's 100% true? What is your intention going to look like when it's 100% true? So when I say my intention is I live the abundant writer's life, a couple of years ago, it would look like I'm going to be doing presentations at a local library. I'm going to be a writing Sherpa. I'm going to have, 5 books, published. It can look like that. That's what you can get into describing it. I'm going to have time to write. I'm going to have writing retreats. I'm going to make a living from my writing. I can even get specific about how much money I want to make. So what you do is after you create your intention, you sit down and you journal, you script how it's going to look when it's 100% true. And so what I invite you to do now for a few moments is take some time to see if you can create an intention just for now. You can tweak it more later. And then if you've come up with an intention, to start writing what it's going to look like when it's 100% true. I'll be writing every day for 15 golden minutes. It'll be different things depending on where you're at with your project or your writing at this time. And I'm going to give you a couple minutes just to play with that. And if you have any questions, just jump in and ask. And again, I'm inviting you to use these intentions instead of goals, instead of affirmations. Especially with us writers, we tend to use goals. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this done then. And at least for a month or two, practice kind of letting go of goals and playing around and exploring the use of intentions. There's actually even books out on intentions and how they work. I think Deepak Chopra wrote a whole book on intentions, or Dr. Well, one of those two did. Do you know which one did that? And then if you need more, just email me and, ask me a question, or I have more in my books on writing intentions. The 0 Point Agreement, How to Be Who You Already Are, has a whole section on this. And I'd be happy to share it with you if you that section if you email me. Anybody want to share their intention? I only see one face, actually. I only see Alexandra. Thank you, Alexandra. Anybody want to share theirs? No? Did you want to share, Alexandra? Did you want to share yours?
Sure.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. The idea of making the intention, like using a verb to make it an active thing, made me think that one of my biggest hangups right now is that it feels like the kind of writing that I'd really love to be doing is super self-indulgent. So I just decided to lean into that. Good. At least for a first draft, mine is, I am indulging to share with others, and that's okay.
Bravo. And good for you for hearing that. So that you just gave an example too, how you were listening. You listened to yourself, right? You were, so you said, I'm going to lean into that. I love that word. That's a great term. But you can only lean into what you're willing to lean into and listen to. So you listen to that, and I indulge in, or however you said your intention. So that's perfect. And so you even want to carry that around in your back pocket. You want to carry that little one, because so then when you feel maybe like you are not feeling it, right? Or you're feeling that other tug where it's not okay to be indulgent, you kind of say your intention to yourself, and you check in again and go, how far away am I from it? Or how can I bring, and you can again just ask the question, how can I bring forth my intention more in this moment? Because your whole being is asking that question, and it kind of steps up and it starts responding to that. You don't have to do a lot. Again, the theme tonight is about allowing things, right? I've written 11 books, and I didn't go through college to write. I just had to write. And I actually started out as a shitty writer. I had to go to the writing lab at the UW many decades ago. And but I loved to write. I had to get it down, right? I had to indulge that call inside me and to write. So yeah, so I'm listening to that and
We
doing
have
that.
some other intentions in the
Oh,
chat.
oh, good. Yay, thank
So
you.
Amy says, I am sharing with others my passion and what I know.
Excellent. And Amy, just to do it with using the science and the art of intentions, take out the M and say, I share with others my passion and what I know. Because otherwise it reads a little bit like and it also energetically resonates like an affirmation otherwise. So I share with others. That's great. I love that. That's
And
brave.
she just revised her intention.
Oh.
I share with others my passion and what I know.
Excellent.
And then Erica shared, my intention is to write, to care for myself by engaging in self-expression. Been too busy with life for too many years. The passion of writing has been stuffed away in the closet of my brain. It's time to unpack it.
Yes. And you could even have, I unpack my writing, but let's see, where in there is there? I'm too busy. I express myself. Yeah, so you want to find that one verb that really works for you. You don't want to make them too long, and remember not to have them be negative, but I love what you're talking about here. I care for myself by engaging my writing. That could be it. That's great. And I love this idea of unpacking it. Yeah, you unpack it. Yeah, unpack it, baby. All right, anybody else? There's one other person want to share. But these are great. Any questions about intentions at this point?
So I was really intrigued by just labeling myself as a writer. And so I wanted my intention to be that I'm a writer, or maybe it should be I write.
Yes.
I don't know. But then what it was looking like a goal to-do list. And I was like, no,
Okay,
that's not the intention. So I may need to work on mine a little bit more.
Yeah. So I would like you to introduce yourself as a writer from here on. Like I'm Julie, I'm a writer. So introduce yourself as a writer. As far as an intention, try something along the lines of I live the writer's life. And you could even add to it, I live the creative writer's life, I live the abundant writer's life, I live the generous writer's life, whatever resonates with you. I engage in the writer's life, so whatever verb works for you. But yeah, I am a writer is absolutely true. And I love that. See that as a label and as a way to introduce yourself. Yeah, it's scary to say a writer. And in my circles, and even tonight, if we say good night to each other, which would be lovely, you can say good night. My name is Erica, and I'm a writer. And it's wonderful to practice that. You just have what makes a writer. You write. You want to write. That's a writer. So I challenge you to introduce yourself as a writer to somebody in the next couple of weeks. Molly, who I do the yoga and the writing with, she she did that at one of her meetings, and she made a friend, a writing friend for life. So it changed her life, introducing herself as a writer. Okay, and then remember to script. Remember to, you can, every Sunday, not morning, sometimes Monday, I script for what my week's going to look like. And it always includes my writing. And again, you want to script what this intention is looking like, add to it, check in with it, contemplate it, hang out with it. It helps it manifest. There's lots of evidence about that. Let's see, did Amy have a question? Oh, there's security. Oh, imposter syndrome. Yeah, imposter syndrome. Yep. If you have the imposter syndrome, which I actually had as a therapist more than as a writer, in my past, a while back, but I went to my therapist and said, I feel like a big freaking fake, helping these people, and I'm a mess just like everybody else. And he looked at me and said, bravo, good for you. If I didn't have the imposter syndrome, I might be more dangerous. I might think I know all this shit and I'm got all my shit together. Those kind of people make us dangerous, and that's true with writers too. We're just fumbling along. There's a saying, a story about the Buddha. A woman came to the Buddha and said, oh, I'm just fumbling through my life. I'm just stumbling and fumbling. Nothing's working out. Anything I do, I just fall and I fumble. And he looked at me and he said, just fumble forward. So we can all just fumble forward and just, as long as we're just staying in it some, which I'll talk about more too. So that's a scripting. The next thing I want to share with you is the magic of naming a subject and a theme. Now, don't go getting scared on me. It's actually a spiritual practice too. It's naming, identifying what it is we're working on. So, because when we name something, like in this case, obviously a subject that we're writing on, a subject that we're interested in, and the subject that we're unpacking, perhaps even, whether it be a memoir or whether it be a novel, a poems. Once we start unpacking it in that way, once we start naming our subject and our theme, we are giving this energy a place to go. We are allowing for it to come out, and have some air and go somewhere. Otherwise, it's kind of like, what am I going to do with this? What is this? It's like all these wonderful ideas. Because you may have many, many ideas, choosing a subject and a theme now to help direct this energy, to help you return to the page. You may end up letting some other ideas to the side. You can't necessarily, if you're one of these people, and I'm one of these people, I have like abundant of ideas, but I can only, if I want to get something done, I need to choose what my subject and my theme is now I'm writing on. Yeah, okay. Is that true for you too? Did you want to say something about that? Okay. So, and I find that a blessing, but it's also a curse, because there's lots of procrastination and distraction that can go on, and then I never get anything done. Well, obviously I have gotten things done. And again, this is the trick, is one of the magic tricks is to name what it is you're writing about, and then also what the theme is. So, and when you do that, don't get afraid that you're going to miss all these other ideas, because I have a journal of other ideas, meaning when I'm in the flow of one subject and theme, and something else pops into this brilliant brain of mine while I'm on my walk or while I'm sitting and meditating, I jot it down in that journal. Or sometimes I'll type it into my computer, but not when I'm doing the walking and the meditating. I have my little notebook, or I do use my phone on my walk. Sometimes I say, Siri, take a note. And she takes my brilliant ideas down. So sometimes I get back to them at some point, but not necessarily right away, because they're not necessarily related to the subject and theme I'm working on. So you want to, so the difference between a subject and a theme is like, so for example, the subject too is universal, where the theme is personal. So that's one kind of basic difference. So the subject could be about golfing. The theme is the spiritual practice of golfing. And when you write about the theme of the spiritual practice of golfing, I'm not a golfer. When you use the theme, then you're going to have, that's where the personal story comes in. That's where your personal experiences come in. So what are the different topics or subjects that are interesting to you. So obviously meditation is for me, writing is for me. Um, you know, in all my books, a lot of it's about being yourself. So there's, you know, you pick a particular subject first, out of all those ideas you have, and even out, let's say you're unpacking a lot of stuff from your brain, that like Erica mentioned, and they might seem related, and they may or may not be. And choosing your subject is going to help you find where to place that stuff you're unpacking. Okay, because I still haven't. I have a book coming out this winter, and you would think I couldn't come up with another book. I mean, in terms of the psychological, spiritual, self-help type book, and this is a very different book from the other ones. The subject is different and the theme is somewhat different. So pick the subject, and then you pick the theme. What's the theme of that particular subject you're writing about? So in my novel that I'm working on for a long time, and I keep returning to, the subject it's a coming of age, so that's kind of the genre, but the subject is becoming oneself. And what did I write down? Oh yeah, becoming. It's about becoming oneself. When you pick a subject or a theme, it doesn't have to mean anything to anybody else at the time, especially the first couple drafts. It's about you staying in that writing, you staying within that conversation. So my subject is becoming ourselves in the fiction. How do we know who we are? How do we realize who we truly are? And then in the theme is how we are all diverse from within. So I even have stuff like transgender and shape shifting and all that stuff. So and then what you do is once you pick your subject and once you pick your theme, you don't go off subject and you don't go off theme until you're done with your project. And so you could say you use your intention to stay walking on your path. You keep your life in alignment with your writing path, and you use your subject and your theme to direct the writing itself. Okay, because if you're a writer, you probably have more than one idea. I've never met anybody yet that only has one book or one blog, right? So you use that one subject and one theme till you're done with the project. Now my overarching blog has one subject and a theme. My writing blog on Wednesdays, it's free if you're interested in getting it. The subject is Writing Wednesday. It's for writers. It's my writing blog. So that's my subject, is how to write. The last one was about returning to writing. And my theme is the connection between writing and a spiritual practice and psycho-spiritual practice. So how those two converge and how we can use those to continue writing and being in our writing life. And I write something, every week. So every week the blog fits into that subject and theme, but I might have a sub theme in that particular, blog. Any questions about theme and subject? One thing you might want to do is, what ideas are calling to you? What have you been thinking about lately? Why did you sign up for this? Why did you sign up for tonight? You have something that wants to, be given some energy and direction. So I would really invite you to name it. It can be scary, because you think, oh, it's kind of like, okay, I got 2 dates. I couldn't say no to one guy and I couldn't say no to the other girl or whatever. So I said yes to them both. And now what? You just got to say yes to one at a time, and then maybe yes, maybe I'll lose a chance to go on the date with the one that I said I can't go on the date with. But I'll maybe not. Maybe that could be book 2, right? But you'll never get done with book 1 if you keep jumping around. Or your blog or your article, whatever it might be. It could be shorter projects like articles. All right. I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to take a couple notes to see if anything's coming up around subject and theme. If you could be brave enough.
Amy just shared in the chat.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So Amy said, writing a book of advice for sports moms to build confidence in their daughters.
Oh, I love that. All right. So the subject is advice for sports moms, and the theme is building confidence in their daughters. Building confidence. So you have it right there, subject and theme. And you don't write anything else or you write very little else until you're done with that. Are you committing to that, Amy? That's brilliant. Yes. Okay, good. That's brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. What was I was going to say something and I forgot. Just to give you another minute. Anybody else want to share their subject or theme or a question around that? It's a really important part of allowing for yourself to return to the page and keep returning. All right, just take another minute to write. Oh, what I was going to say is when you're journaling around your subject and your theme, or even tonight, anytime you're journaling, and I do invite you to have some of your writing be handwriting. It will help with the whole creativity. It will help with open up to more ideas. Is title and date your pieces. I mean, I have journals and journals. I was going to do show and tell and I forgot, but in all my journals, I always do some handwriting for all my books, in my blogs, everything. Some of it's handwritten, and I title it. Or sometimes I'm sitting down and I'm just in the zone and I'm jotting a lot of stuff down. I'll title it and date it, and then so I know I can come back to, I can find it when I need it to put it into my computer or into my story. Well, then when I'm done with it, I just take a little line and draw a line through it. So then I know I've used it. All right. All right, the next one, that was number 3, naming a subject and a theme, is number 4, is all about staying in the conversation with your subject and your theme. So David White, who I shared the poem with in the beginning, is a poet. He does great classes on Sundays. He's got some coming up in November. He gave up his big CEO life to be a poet. He's making a living from, as far as I could tell, a pretty good living from being a poet and a storyteller. And he and I use the same term of the conversational reality of life. Pretty much, as long as you stay in the conversation with your theme and with your subject and your theme, you will keep writing. All right. And actually what happens is once you name your subject and name your theme, you opened up the conversation. And if you start scripting about it and you start journaling and you take those contemplative moments or meditate, all of a sudden you're in this conversation, you have synchronistic encounters, or you wake up one morning and you go, oh my God, I just had an idea, so you do what you can gently, staying in the conversation. And once you're in the conversation, you won't be able to, it'll be harder to stop writing than it will be to stop. It'll be harder to stop than not to stop. Did I say that right? So the invitation is to always stay in the conversation. So with your subject and theme, and also with the environment. So that's another thing I was going to mention about staying in the conversation is there's things going on around us right now that's part of the conversation. Everything is part of the conversation, basically, but you're directing some of this conversation and noticing certain things by carrying your subject and your theme with you. So like when I go for a walk, and I mean this quite literally, I take my subject and theme with me on my walk, and then I run into something. And you'll see if you read my next book in particular, the 0 points, it's the case too, but this next one that's coming up, called The Clue of the Red Thread, I talk about my walks because I'll take my subject and my theme on my walk with me, kind of like a prayer, right? In conversation, and then things happen, synchronistic things happen. So one of the things that happened where I lived before was there's those fuzzy caterpillars on the walk, which ones I mean, about this time of year. and they were all over on the road. And I spend time on all my walks picking them up, because this was on a country road. Here on the walking paths, you don't find them. So I'd pick them up. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, it was one of my analogies in my book. And I think it turned out to be a really good analogy. So other things happen though. Something always happens on my walk. A lot of times it's external. It's an encounter I have because I'm in conversation, but oftentimes too, it's just an internal aha. There's that simple allowing for the conversation and for ideas to come, or when you go out and you have your subject and your theme with you, or when you sit down and you're meditating or you're contemplating, you're listening to some poetry or what have you, you are maybe thinking of a particular scene or piece in your book, right? So then the conversation is opening to that particular part in your, writing. Okay, so another way to stay in the conversation, of course, is to come up with questions. So we come up with questions of related to our theme, excuse me, related to our theme and our subject. So again, my subject is becoming ourselves. That's for my fiction. And the theme for my fiction, and it's a young adult spiritual novel, I guess, fantasy, I suppose. I haven't really decided on the genre. I don't think it fits perfectly into fantasy, but how we are all diverse from within. And so some of my question is, what does becoming look like in my novel compared to my life now? What do I mean by becoming? So I might ask that question. Where does it come up and how in my life? Are the bad guys not becoming? So I'm taking my theme and my subject and my theme, and I'm saying, well, what about the bad guys? And then now I realize the bad guys don't know how to shapeshift. The bad guys don't know. The bad guys are not diverse in within, So one of my main characters is, one of the heroines is transgender. And so now, and when I asked that question, that came to me right away, like, oh yeah, they don't have that, which is why they're trying to steal it from, the characters, my main characters. And then why and how does this look? So the theme, how does being diverse, transgender, shapeshifter, subpersonalities make up a person? What is that? What do I mean by that? And again, I don't have to have any answer. Don't go doing a lot of research or any research. This is about having a conversation. I'm not saying never. I do Google and, I get lost in that world, but you want a significant amount of time is just opening up to the conversation. So no matter where you are in whatever setting, you're going to get information. And that's why I carry notebooks around with me wherever I go. How many beings are in me? All right. I'm asking them, how many beings am I? Okay, I don't know. What animal would I shapeshift into? What animal do I want to be? What animal might I be? So just things like that. So it's asking these questions, not feeling like you have to force this. I have to figure this out. What's going to happen in the scene? What do I want to happen in this scene? What could happen in the scene? What does this mean? You see what I'm getting at? Instead of approaching the empty page or the next, and I did this with all my nonfiction, instead of going, I want to express this. I want to express to people that they can be the cause of their life. They don't have to be the effect of their life. So I don't want to just sit there and go, be the cause of your life, not the effect of your life. So how do I do that? So yeah, how do I do that? How does that come up in my life? How have I learned that? What do I mean? I wonder what I mean. And again, I don't force an answer. I go for my walks. I might read poetry. I'm in the conversation, and even sometimes I'm watching a TV show and I get a response. So again, it's allowing for this to happen, just being in the conversation. So what would some of your questions be? Jot down a few of those. Oh, I have to sign off. Thank you so much. You're welcome. So what might some of your questions be? There aren't any wrong or right ones. And by the way, your question can be, what are my questions? because there's basically no reason to be stuck, is what I'm saying. There's basically, it's just an invitation, it's just allowing yourself to be in the conversation. And any questions about that, or anybody want to share anything around staying in the conversation? One of the things I do, I'm not going to do it tonight. I did it in another of the Oregon sessions when we were seeing each other in person, is a conversational arc. And anytime one of my writers that I'm mentoring are stuck, we sit down, we create a conversational arc. And that's basically using your theme and finding a core question to take you over the arc to the result. There's lots of different ways to use that, but basically it's just a visual for staying in the conversation through asking questions. Anybody want to share or ask a question? So another way to stay in the conversation, and there are many, is collecting words around your subject and theme. What are some, or images, experiences? So you have this subject and you have this theme. You might write a list of pivotal moments that reflect that subject and that theme. I do have a practice, and I shared it in another session, and I'd be happy to share it, or the library might have it, that what to do, how to write from pivotal moments. And if you want, just send me an email. She'll share the email with you that I can give you that practice. It's a 3-part practice of writing about pivotal moments. But what you want to do now is to create a list, or you can create a list of pivotal moments that are under your subject and are thematic, are both subjective and thematic. I would then, you could take, if you collect words that are subject and thematic, you could write a poem. You could say, oh, I'm going to write a poem every day. I'm going to write using my subject and my theme. It's a really good way to get into the conversation, because you're not pressuring yourself to write a whole essay or short story or scene. You just say, I'm going to write a poem using these words that are about part of my subject, my theme, and a few things that have popped into my life while I'm in this conversation. And that can really deepen the conversation. Sometimes what I'll have people do when they're stuck in a scene or stuck with an essay or whatever they're writing, I'll say, take that scene or that essay and turn it into a poem. And no rules of what kind of poem, just create your own poem. Ultimately, I don't think there's any there's any rules to writing poetry. And sometimes what the person will realize, all these things have come out, and then they've been able to finish their scene because they created this poem. Yeah, so that's it as far as making, it's not completely it, but basically some of the basics of staying in the conversation. And remember, once you're in the conversation, you're in the conversation. So, and you're practicing again, remember, you're practicing that noticing. For me, it's also a spiritual experience. It's like, because I love the synchronicities that happen. And then I'm able to use those in the creative process. That's Lulu. Let's see. Any questions about that, or comments or shares?
So Erica writes, this is very thought-provoking. I don't even know where to begin. This will be a list.
Okay. I don't even know where to begin. Is that a good thing that you don't know where to begin? Yes. Okay, good. That's good. That's what I wondered. All right. All right. There'll be a list. Good. All right. Anything else anybody want to share or ask?
I like the idea, definitely something super helpful that's come out of this for me, is the idea of maybe not on purpose, I'm not sure if this is what you're meaning, but from what I'm taking from it, is writing the poem instead of writing the thing. Because sometimes that just, yeah, like you said, there's not really any rules to that. So the freedom of just like, okay, I'm gonna just doodle, write whatever about this thing instead of writing the thing itself. I'll just write about it in this extra poem space. And I feel like that could be very clarifying.
Yes. Yes, it can be. And thank you for what you said. You said, I don't know if I got this right, or you said something along those lines. And any of these offerings, particularly from me, but I would say do this with any writing teacher, whether they want you to or not, is take whatever you take it wherever it takes you, right? If you might get a whole different idea and a better idea for you from what I'm saying. You might go, oh, that doesn't resonate with me, but this does. You go with that. You go wherever something takes you, instead of feeling like, oh, this is what Julie wants me to do. Instead, just allow it to take you wherever it's going to take you. So, and I really do recommend that, with even if you go to a class where the teacher is a little bit more, the instructor is a little bit more, here's the rules to writing, and so just don't go down all in a sweat. Just let it go and harvest whatever you like, and then let it take you where it takes you, because there are no rules to writing, really, not really. And if I can write a book, anybody can write a book. Let's see. This is very fun. Okay, lots of ideas. Need to rein them in. Yeah, rein them in. Again, how are you going to do that, Erica? One way we're going to do that is you're going to pick your subject and your theme. That's one way you can do it. So I just contradicted myself a little bit. I said no rules and all that, but a way that I have found is to pick that subject and that theme, and then just keep jotting down all those other ideas, because if you have a lot of ideas, that means you have a lot of projects, a lot of things you're going to share with the world. So that's a good thing. Any other shares or comments or questions?
Possibly in the design of reining things in. Something else that I'm definitely gonna keep in my cap that you mentioned, Julie, was that you can say like yes to a date, but you'll never finish book one if you just keep jumping to books 2 or 3 or whatever. But you can say yes, just do them one at a time. Like having ideas for book 2 and book 3 up to 100 doesn't mean you won't get to them. But you won't ever finish your first book if you don't stick with it, which is definitely something that's going to be helpful to me, I think. Just knowing like, yeah, you can write more books, but you have to write the first one first.
Right. Yes, definitely. Thank you. And keep notes for book 2, 3, and 4, because someone will come to me and they go, oh, but this is starting to happen. And sometimes it's the new boy or girl in town too. I almost gave up my novel once because I had this brilliant idea, and my writing partner looked at me and she said, that's the new girl in town. That's the new boy in town. So let it go. And I'm glad I did. It was hard though, because he was cuter. You know how that is at the start, right? The new one is always cuter or whatever. But I haven't lost that idea. I still have it. I have it written down. So keep notes. You can label those. You could give those a subject and a theme too, and tuck them away, and give yourself the satisfaction of finishing, book 1. Anything else with that? And I'll go into the 5th one, the last one. Okay, so the 5th one is making space for yourself. So this is where, allowing is really important. And that's mostly the theme that I, teach and I guess you could say advise writers, is to allow. It's all about allowing. There is a little making. It's not like making is bad. So we do need to make space with ourselves and for ourselves and for our writing life in our life, within the context, in my view, of our daily life. So what does that look like? So I think it's good to start in our home, for now. Where in your life, and especially now, I love going to coffee shops, and the minute I can do that again, I like to go to libraries too, but I have a tendency to go more to coffee shops. I like being in a place where it's really busy and noisy. And then I also can tell a few friends or writing people I have open writing time where people will come and visit me while I'm writing at the coffee shop, and they'll join me, kind of thing. So I can't wait till I can do that again. But because I can't, how can I create something like that at home? So I do like I'll make an announcement with some of my writers. I'll say, Friday afternoon, it's a free writing retreat. We check in the morning, and then we share at the end of the day some of our writing. If you go on my blog, if you sign up for my blog, then you'd find out about those. Or you can just send me an email, say I want to be on your blog or mailing list. I do a lot of free stuff. This isn't free, by the way. The library is paying me for this, which is very nice. Very, very nice. It's good to get paid as a writer too. I will say that. And that's a way of making space for us is, getting paid. So, but what kind of space do you need? And do you have that? And do you share a house? And, where can you go to actually write? And what do you like and what do you need? So identifying that. Where, for example, I forgot who it was about the unpacking. I think she's still here. Yeah, Erica. Where are you going to do the unpacking? We really need to have a space for that. So to really consider that too, I would challenge you in the next week to decide where the space is going to be in your home and how it's going to be. So, and so along with those lines, you need to join up with other people. So Erica, jump the gun. Thank you. I was talking earlier about we were talking earlier about having a local writers group through the library. So that's something, we'll be putting out, I think. And I do writing groups right now. All my writing circles, I actually call them circles, but they're all full. But here we got 3 other people here, and other people, from the community, you could end up partnering up too. So in my writing circles, I encourage people to partner up, to find at least one writing partner. It's a challenge, isn't it, to be a writing partner, for sure, because we, our schedules and stuff, you'd be surprised what gets in our way of, actually writing. So, but to get a writing partner. So I would challenge you within the next month is to find a writing partner where you meet up with that writing partner and you share anywhere from 5 to 10 pages. You read to each other, but it's not a critique. Do not join a critique circle. Do not join a critique group. The one we're going to do at the library will be based on how I do writing circles. And I think, Karen and I will do that together. That's our hope. And then those are support circles. So you don't need to be critiqued. I was a shitty writer when I started, and I've written some really good books. I'm really proud of my books, and the novel's going to be good too when I continue working on it. So what was I saying about that? Oh, I didn't get critiqued. I don't get critiqued. Now and again, I will get some feedback from some editing feedback, right? But you're not the editor either, by the way. You're the writer. So don't ever edit your own stuff either. Don't spend time editing. Rewrite, yes, but rewriting is very different. Rewriting is allowing for the creative process to continue. Editing, going in there and saying, this is not right, I got to change this and all that. No. So when you hook up with somebody, no critiquing. Here's how I frame the feedback. What do you really like about what I just shared, or what the other writer shared? What resonated with you? Where did you come into that scene or story? And what would you like more of? So, and that's all we need. After you've worked with somebody for a while, or you partnered with somebody for a while, there can be a little bit more. Like, so I might come to, one of my writing partners or circles and say, I really feel like I'm saying too much. I'm hitting the reader over the head. Am I? So then, after you've got a good trust going, then you can ask that kind of question, but they still can frame it in, no, I really like that. I actually wanted more, or yeah, I could see how, but it's not like, no, this doesn't work. You shouldn't do this. I'm told that, scenes are supposed to be written like this. None of that kind of critiquing. In fact, how you learn from books, writing books, craft books, or how I do, and then you can borrow from this way if you want. Because I'm not the best student in some ways. I read a book and I just know it's downloading into me. I'm kind of figuring it out. I'm studying it, I'm reading it. I don't practice too much with it. Meaning I don't sit there and go, okay, I got to do this way. I just know I've read so many craft books. I know I'm figuring it out. So that's one way. The other way is to find your quintessential book. Once you decide on your subject and your theme and you know what you're writing about, go pick a book, go find a book that's your quintessential book, the book that you want your book to look like. And you're going to end up stealing from that book. Stealing like an artist, it's called. It's a necessary thing. You're not plagiarizing. You're borrowing from them. You're learning from them, and you're stealing some. You might be stealing like the flow, but you're not plagiarizing. You're not literally lifting up, their words and their story. But so the book I'm stealing from my novel is, you probably guessed it, The Hunger Games. I think that those are brilliantly written. I've read them 3 times at least, and then I watched the movies too. So, and part of it's because it's first person present tense, and mine is first person present tense. So that helped me with that. So that's the reason why you get a quintessential book, because then you can steal like that. You go, okay, how did she do transition? How does she go how does she foreshadow when you're in the present? How can you, when you don't know what's going to do, that kind of thing? How does she do this? How does she do that? And then I go and look for it. When I'm mentoring somebody, yes, and coaching somebody as you're writing, sure, but yeah, I'll get in a little bit more to the sentences and stuff, but it still will be this, it will be as a reader. It's not going to be like an editor. And when you're finally ready to have somebody edit it, then hire an editor, but don't edit it yourself. Don't go there. You're the writer. Let's see, making space for yourself in your home, writing circles, retreats. I will be doing a free, online retreat coming up. I also do some, we're doing some in November, 3 Sundays in November. It's yoga and writing combined. I am starting a writing circle with the yoga instructor. It's yoga for writers, but it's once a month, and that's starting in February. So, it is around there. That would, I don't know, the library one to be free or $5, or it wouldn't be very expensive, right? You don't know, Cara.
Any programming that we do at the library is free for our
Yeah.
patrons to participate
Yeah.
in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, so there's that. So pay attention to that, and then you can go to my website and see what I'm doing. But like I said, I do a lot of free stuff. So just join up. Oh, every first Wednesday of the month, which is next Wednesday, it's free writing and yoga. So and it's yoga. It's very friendly yoga. It's good to do yoga. I don't do the yoga. Molly leads the yoga. I lead the writing part. Give it a try if you want. It's free. Just send me an email that you want to be on that list, and we'll send that out to you. Let's see, writing circles, workshops, writing partner, and free Wednesdays. So the next question, a final question as we finish up, is what is next? What's your next step? What's close in? What needs or wants your attention, your focus, your energy in order now that you've named the subject and the theme, or let's pretend you have, or maybe that's your next step, is naming your subject actually. That's a way to make space for you. So I'm going to read a poem by David White called Start Close In. And the reason he's written this poem, and the reason I'm pulling it out too and ending with it, is that it's always hardest to do the thing close in. We're always thinking about the next thing, or, it's like we're 3 or 4 down, instead of what's that simple but not easy thing that puts us back on the writing path. And so all these things I shared tonight could be your close in thing. Or maybe if you've gotten it all down and you're ready to go, then what is your close in thing? It's something to ask yourself. And then stick around after I finish with the poem, because I'd love you'd all say goodbye or closing statement. Maybe even say your name and I'm a writer. So no rules. All right, so this is David White's poem. Start close in. Start close in. Don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing close in, the step you don't want to take. Start with the ground the pale ground beneath your feet, your own way to begin the conversation. Start with your own question. Give up on other people's questions. Don't let them smother something simple. To hear another's voice, follow your own voice. Wait until that voice becomes an intimate, private ear that can really listen to another. Start right now. Take a small step you can call your own. Don't follow someone else's heroics. Be humble and focused. Start close in. Don't mistake that other for your own. Start close in. Don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing close in, the step you don't want to take. And that's David White. And me. He gets credit for the poem. All right, well, I feel finished. My name is Julie, and I'm a fiction writer. How's that? And if you want